Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for taking time to join us today for the event Graduation What Next. My name is Dominica, and I'm the Alumni and Business Development Coordinator at Middlesex Mauritius. I just wanted to say a few words before I hand over to our panelists. But just to give you a background how this event came to life, with our finalists graduating shortly and with the global pandemic still ongoing, one of our panelists, Sohini, approached me about sharing her experience post-graduation and how her plans have changed, what she's doing, what further qualifications she's doing. So Sohini, thank you very much for organizing this. It took some initiative, and I also appreciate for coming up with a panelist and inviting our final year representative, Sajni, to be the voice of the final year students, but also to moderate this event. Just going to kick off now. Sajni, over to you.
Thank you, Dominica. My name is Sajni Shah. I'm 22 years old, and I started studying at Middlesex University in 2018. I am doing my LLB, and I just finished this year, and I would be graduating. I joined this event because I had like so many ideas in my mind, but I was kind of confused about them. So I wanted to hear from other graduates as well on their ideas about this. So we'll start with their introduction, and I will hand over to Sohini.
Thank you, Sajni. Hi, everyone. My name is Suhini, and I'm so glad that everyone here is attending. Basically, I graduated from Middlesex in 2019. I did business management and specialized in finance from 2016 to 2019. However, I was in Mauritius for the foundation program, which I completed between the year 2015 and 2016. I would like to pass on to Alea to carry on and introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Alaya. I graduated from Middlesex University in 2019. I specialized in business management and finance. And then I was working in Mauritius itself at Warwick Private Bank. And then I joined a management company. Over to you, Jeremy.
Thanks, Alaya. Very nice introduction. So hi, everyone. My name is Jeremy. I was a psychology student and I graduated last year. I was the first batch to graduate from a pandemic, actually. The pandemic happened while I was in my third year, so it was quite an experience. And so I joined Middlesex in 2017. I graduated in 2020. I'm currently working in HR at Aspen Global. Over to you, Priyaj.
All right. So first of all, I would like to thank everyone for organizing this event here and to everyone watching us. I hope that everyone is fine and well, especially during those hard times that we had and we are facing right now. Hope that everything gets better in the near future. So to begin with, my name is Priyaj Singh Chuni. I'm 24 years old. I graduated from Middlesex University in 2019 with an LLB honors. I started my tertiary education in 2015, started with the IFP program, which is an International Foundation program. And then I moved on to my LLB. Then in October 2020, I came to University of West of England, Bristol, to do my bar, which is a course which specializes you to become a barrister, that is a lawyer in other countries' term. Sajni, I move on to you.
Thank you, Preach. When I started my LLB, I had a different idea as to what I was going to be doing. I wanted to be doing a master's and before I start my bar. But obviously in these 3 years, due to the pandemic and the different people that I've met, my goals have changed over the years during my time at Middlesex. So I'd give over to Sohini to share her experience and whether her goals changed from when she started to when she graduated.
Thank you for sharing, Sajni. Basically, after I graduated in August 2019, I started working by, I think, October 2019. And for a very long time, my goals seemed to remain the same, progressive career development. However, during the pandemic, I was offered another job at PKF East Africa, which is an accounting and audit firm. And I never really wanted to get into an accounting firm before because I have specialized in finance and not accounts. But when the opportunity availed itself, I did want to further pursue it because of all the changes the economy and just in general everybody went through due to COVID. I think my goals, if I would say if they changed when I was still in university or after I graduated, I would definitely agree that yes, they have changed in the terms of where I want my career to progress. And we hope to talk more about this. I'll pass it on to Alea to continue more.
Thank you, Sohini. For me, I graduated along with Sohini in August 2019, but I started working right after my exams at Warwick Private Bank in Mauritius. And my goal, as I specialized in finance, I was working in the audit department first, and then I moved towards the finance department. And I switched jobs right when the pandemic hit. So in March 2020, I joined Maitland Group. That was a management company, and I was working as a junior administrator over there. I was doing 50% accounting and admin work, and I resigned in May 2021. So I worked there for a total of 1 year. Now I will pass it on to Jeremy to tell more about himself.
Thanks, Alaya. So as I said before, I've done a BSc in psychology, and I don't know if any one of you guys are doing psychology at the moment, but if you don't know, my course is one of these courses similar to Priyaj, who is in law, where generally we tend to have to go through a master's or a postgraduate diploma to be able to have something in our field to be able to work properly. In my case, if I wanted to be a psychologist, I'd have to do a master's degree. With my bachelor's, it is not enough. So my goals at the beginning of 2020 was as soon as I was done with my degree, I would go straight for my master's. I was applying abroad and starting to do all my paperwork and everything, all my applications to the universities, which was quite hectic. Unfortunately, the pandemic hit. It hit quite severely for my year because it hit while we were still conducting our final year dissertation. So for a lot of us, it was more like we had to adapt to what was happening. It was the first time as well where we had to have our studies online as well. So that was my plan. I wanted to study industrial psychology as my master's. But unfortunately, I had to put it on hold because of a pandemic. So then I told myself, all right, I'll do some internship until 2021, and then I'll go do my master's in 2021. Once the pandemic has calmed down, I was expecting things to be more at ease now, which is not really the case. And so I started looking for jobs for 2 months. It was not easy. But luckily I was able, through a lot of networking as well, I was able to have an internship at Aspen Global for 6 months, which was perfectly in my plans. 6 months of internship before I then moved to my master's in the UK in 2021. How the situation is unfolding at the moment and how unstable things are, especially abroad. I decided to put my entire master's plan on hold. And luckily, I was able to have a permanent position now at Aspen Global, where I'm now a junior HR coordinator, which I'm very grateful for, obviously. I believe that my plans on my side is forever changing. And I think what the pandemic has taught me is to always be adaptable to what is happening and to be always on the ready to change your plan. But I will let Priyaj explain more on his side, especially on the law aspect, because I do know that him as well, he must have had a few changes. So on to you, Priyaj.
Thank you, Jeremy. So for me, when I graduated in 2019, I wanted to start my bar immediately. But then because of the pandemic started, so I had to postpone my application for the next year. So then during that time, what I did, I went to some law firm and some chambers to do my mini pupillage, that is an internship in the legal sector. So also it would help me to do my application, and also it would help me to gain more experience in the legal sector and to actually finalize in which law section I would like to work in the future. And this worked out really well for me. Like it was a blessing in a disguise. So that pandemic like helped me to focus more on which section I want to work with. And when I came here, I'm doing my bow, I did it, and I had my focus in mind. So I knew like I had to do the bow, but also when I'm done with it, I know in which field I would go to. So the pandemic was like really a good thing, also you can say it. But one aspect of it is that when we came here, most of our courses were online. So at first this was a bit difficult because like we thought that we will go to classes and do uh, the works over there. But then when you realize it, most of the works that you need to do is on yourself. So coming back home and just staying in your room with all your comfortable stuff, like you can have snacks just in front of you and watching the lectures, or the kitchen is just near you, just go and grab something and come back, like you're in your comfortable zone. So like it is also a bad thing, like you cannot go out like to enjoy the city, or to go for movies or going out for dinner. But also it helps you like to focus more on what you're doing, because there's no distraction which is like appealing you to go right or left and distracting you from what you are doing. But coming to that, we'll come more in details about it, how we dealt with the pandemic after. But my goals was that I knew that I would do the book, but even though the pandemic came in, I had my focus in and I did it. So I managed through the pandemic, but it was good. It was okay. Sajni, I give it back to you.
As I said before, I'm graduating this year, and obviously there's not going to be a graduation ceremony for now. But since we all come from different years, I would want you to talk about your different experiences as to the graduation ceremony. So maybe you can start with Sohini.
Okay, so graduation, wow. I think that's a very broad topic for every individual. Personally, for me, graduation was a way of celebrating everything that we worked really hard for 4 years doing finance. Alea and I think I speak for the both of us when I say that finance did get quite tough towards the end. So graduation was sort of like a celebration, made us feel like, okay, we've done so much and we finally feel some source of achievement. And other than that, I was an international student, and my parents were unable to come visit down while I was in Mauritius for those 4 years. And they weren't able to meet my friends or get to know the places or the lifestyle that I had while I was there. So graduation was also a sort of way for them to come and see and explore and enjoy all the things that I did while I was there in Mauritius. So for me, graduation was mostly towards, I would say, a celebratory aspect, and also a last way of spending time with my friends who became like family during the 4 years I had, because we haven't been able to see each other since. But yeah, I think that's how I would explain my graduation experience. Alea, I think you can continue with your experience now.
Thank you, Sohini. Graduation for me was like having the chocolate dessert. It was a great celebration, and the background I come from, like I have half of my family in Pakistan and half of my family in Mauritius. So it was a really great celebration, and the memories you made all 3 years, like meeting friends from different cultures. And there's some people that you're going to see for the last time in your life, like as an individual, and maybe you will connect on social media for sure. So for me, graduation was a great day, full of memories, meeting people, celebrating what you did and all the hard work. As Sohini mentioned, finance was not an easy journey. It was not very easy to go through all these 3 years, but the final happiness that you get inside, I think that's what graduation is. So I will pass it on to Jeremy. Jeremy, what is your opinion? He can tell us more about that. Thank you.
Thanks, Alaya. Unfortunately, unlike Alaya and Sohini, I did not and was not able to have my graduation. I was the first year not to have their graduation, actually. I think, in my opinion, when the pandemic hit and we were all we all got into lockdown. Well, to begin with, on my end personally, I encountered a lot of technical issues. For instance, 2 days after the pandemic hit and we got into lockdown, my laptop broke down. Not in the sense that I could not work at all, but I could only operate my laptop an hour a day unless it overheats. So I had to differ. I differed for, if I remember correctly, July. So I had to submit my dissertation in July, and I would have gotten my results in September of last year. So everyone in my year, well, mostly everyone in my year finished before I did to begin with. And when I finished finally in July, it never felt like I completed my third year, just because it didn't feel like I completed it since I was in lockdown. Well, in July it was easing off anyways, but I didn't have that satisfactory feeling like Sohini or Alaya had, just because, well, first of all, we didn't get a chance to talk, to have a final chat with our lecturers, to meet, all our peers and friends for the last time for graduation. And unfortunately for me at the moment, it feels like, if there is a graduation soon for my side, it would be great, I can imagine, but I also feel like a lot of us have moved on already, especially on my side. I've already moved on to other things in my career. So it would feel a bit weird having to go back for graduation and celebrating something that is so, well, for me, so far back in the past, although it was just last year, just because of how many things have happened. But it is an unfortunate event, obviously, but that was my experience. But let's hear something a bit more positive with food and drinks from Priyaj.
Well, for me, I graduated the same year with Alaya and Sohini. So in 2019, we were fortunate enough to have our graduation. And just as both of them mentioned it was like an achievement for all of us, even for the LLB classmate. Like LLB, since the first year till the third year, it's a hard course. At the end of the day, when like we were going up the podium, receiving our diploma and coming down, taking the picture and everything, this was like a big achievement for us. We really liked it. And of course, the cherry on top of the cake was that at the end we had food, we had drinks, we all enjoyed, and all our classmates since first year were here, not only in LLB but different classes and courses. So we would all meet, gather up, have a good conversation, a good laugh about it, and talk how those 3-4 years went so fast. And it was really good. It was really good, actually. We all really enjoyed it. Graduation for this year, we don't know how it's going to be because of the pandemic. Some universities are saying that they're going to do it online, and some are saying that they are going to postpone it for the next year. But I agree with the point that Jeremy said, like, if you already moved on your career path, it will be a bit like a weird situation going back to graduation and then the next day going back to work. So we will see how we will deal with it in the future. But for the graduations that I had, it was really good. We really enjoyed it. And I really hope that everyone gets to do their graduation after. Sajni, I move on to you.
Thank you, Pritch. No, I decided to take a break after finishing my LLB. I'm sure the rest of you have been getting into applying for jobs, and it may not have always been your way. So getting rejected or not getting callbacks, or the stress of making your CV like perfect. How did you cope with that, and what are like the suggestions you would give people moving on to that aspect? So I think we'd start with Sohini.
Thank you, Sajni. I think the question and the topic that you've just brought up is quite a heavy one. When you're a fresh graduate, you really have to prepare yourself mentally that not every application that you send through is gonna be processed, and you're gonna even sometimes get callbacks. You mentioned rejections, but sometimes it comes to a point where they don't even reply back to you. They don't get back at how you could have improved your application process, that they could have considered you. And moving on from that rejection, when I graduated and when I was applying, I sent out quite a good number of applications, and I did get a few rejections as well, which is quite underwhelming and also quite upsetting, especially because you're just about to start off your career. You're thinking, I'm young, I have done a great job at university, I've got a good degree, a good accredited degree with me. So I'm very positive. But then when the rejection comes in, it's a bit difficult to fathom or understand why or what's wrong with you. What I would advise with the rejections is that it's a process. It's something that everybody has to go through, and I think for me, taking that as a positive note is that it happened to me quite early on, so it kind of like taught me on how to deal with future rejections, because it's not the end of the world. You just have to keep pushing through. And when I go back to what you said about building your CV, I think that's a very, very important thing that a lot of fresh graduates need to understand, that no CV is a standard CV. Every CV has to be unique because you are a unique individual yourself. So obviously, it's great that you take advice from your peers or your classmates or whatever the case. But at the end of the day, you have to make sure what makes your CV stand out to whichever company or industry that you've applied for, that they will consider. So I think I will pass it on to Alea, but I would like to put a note that Jeremy would be able to explain this whole process of CVs and standing out in a much better note. Over to you, Alea.
Thank you, Sohini. As I would like to add on to what Sohini said, that it's the most interesting, challenging, and overwhelming journey that you start after graduation, that you start in your career, looking for jobs, feeling rejected. Like I remember once, like as after graduation, I went to a very well-known company, and after giving 3 rounds of interview, I was rejected. But what my advice to the young graduates over here is to take the rejection positively, to work hard, and to never give up on your dreams and on your aims. There would be companies that would call you. There would be companies that they would not even answer, as Sohini said. And there would be companies where you would have to go for interviews and you would have to wait for hours and hours. They would not be punctual. Every culture, every workplace would be very different. But the mindset should be very positive, and you should focus on what you want to do. Like when I started, I got lucky enough to find work right before even my graduation. But then I also went through several interviews before I found Maitland. And Maitland was something which I joined during the pandemic. It was during a time where I never even expected to find a job. And it all just happened. But the motivation, the mindset should be really positive, and you should just carry on. And I think if you get rejected, as Sohini said, in the earlier on in the career, that's a great step. That you will know how to face rejection. And once you know how to face rejection, you can go forward with anything. And regarding the CV, like Jeremy would explain you in detail, but I would just like to say that you have to consider yourself when you're a young graduate as a product in the market. You're a product that the company wants to add value. So whatever you present on that piece of paper on a CV is a representation of how you are as a person on your profile. Before your interview, your CV is the first thing that the person sees. So it should be in a person, like it should be unique, it should be yourself, and it should be in a manner that represents you. So I would pass it on to Jeremy, who's going to add more about how to stand CV out. Thank you.
Thank you, Alaya. I love positivity in your answer. Same for Sohini. You guys already gave very good advice to everyone, and that's great to hear. So given my background, as I said, I work in HR. So a big portion of my job is to look at recruitment. And being a junior in my role, I look at recruiting a lot of junior positions in my company. So a lot of times I do get a lot of fresh graduates applications. And I think it's very fitting for this topic that we're discussing right now. So I'll break my answer into 2. So first, I'll give my own personal experience following rejection and applying for jobs. And second part, I'll flip the coin and explain from the other side as a recruiter how it is and how I myself perceive CVs in general, especially in Mauritius. So from my experience, as I said, I finished in September. I got my results then. and the tedious task of job searching began. To begin with, I was quite proud of my CV. I've done quite a lot during my university years as well. And I started applying to places. But being in a psychology background and wanting experience in HR, Mauritius is still very focused on the fact that if you want a job in this field, you need to have studied that field. So they would obviously prioritize someone that did human resource management over someone who did psychology, which is even for a traineeship or even for an internship or a program or a junior role in many companies in Mauritius, they tend to prioritize those who studied exactly what they're looking for, when actually that's not the most important part. So I began my job searching for jobs, and I've went on to my job. I've went on to LinkedIn. I've went on to Facebook. I've literally job searched everywhere, and I've applied to a dozen companies. And the sad truth in Mauritius is that the recruitment process in Mauritius takes so much time. And for some applications that I've done, it's only after 4 months that they then send an automatic rejection email from my job that I have been selected, and without giving any reason, any feedback, or any chance for me to communicate back to them, which is quite demotivating, especially when, as Sohini and as Allah said, as a fresh graduate with a strong degree on your hand, you're expecting that you get the opportunity and the chance to prove yourself. Turns out that it's not always the case, and it's always going to be complicated. Luckily for me, as I said previously, through networking, I was able to have my CV being placed at Aspen Global. And once the opportunity was open in December, they contacted me if I was interested in that traineeship. Well, technically I was a consultant, and I was very grateful. And now I will flip the coin onto the recruitment side of things. My duty and role is I open a vacancy, whichever department it is, and I then screen applications. I do an initial interview with the candidates, and then I will submit my notes to the hiring manager for them to see whether they'd like these candidates to progress to the next round. So there's a lot of filtering and a lot of thought that is put before HR contacts a candidate to begin with. What we do is we look at the general fit based on their CV for the role. So generally the role already has a set of requirements that you would see when applying. We're looking for the best CVs that represent these requirements, that represents what we're looking for. And I can already tell any of you, studies are important, but it's not the most important part of a CV. Studies is just a check that we do to make sure that this person has the right knowledge to be able to work. We look for way more than just academics or even experience. We also look for your ability and your willingness to learn, and your willingness to be dynamic, and your willingness to adapt to a company and to grow within that company. As Sohini mentioned as well, CVs should not look exactly the same. Depending on which field you're in, for instance, if you're in a graphic design field, you're free to be fully creative with your CVs. You can have pictures, you can have diagrams, you can present the information that you're selling in a creative manner to show your uniqueness. But in other fields, there are other priorities as well that you should put first. As an example, such as for Priyaj or even for Sohini and Alaya, these are very corporate areas. So your CVs should be more informative than creative. When you look at your CV, so I'm not going to go fully either on how to build a CV, but when you look at CVs as well, what you display as information is very important. You need to give the right information, but it shouldn't be banal. It shouldn't be in the sense that, oh, I've worked as a secretary assistant, and you put as bullet points answering phone calls, welcoming guests. Try and elaborate a bit more on these points to be able to set yourself in a different manner than the rest of the CVs. That is normally my personal experience from these from the recruitment side and from my own personal side. But I want to finish by saying that, as I was saying, since I am also I do a lot of junior recruitment, I have a lot of fresh graduate CVs that come to me, and it's quite unfortunate that a lot of them don't display or not able to sell themselves well enough to the company in order for us to progress with us. We always say, don't judge a book by its cover, but we also need to realize that normally most companies, when they open a vacancy, they get around 200 to 300 applications, sometimes 100. We don't have time to give a chance to over 100 people. We need to be able to filter. That's where I learned to understand that rejection, as Sohini and Alaya beautifully put, is part of the process. If you're rejected, don't let yourself down and keep going. One company will be willing to hire you, and you'll be able to demonstrate yourself and grow there. But that's it on my side. I'll pass on to Priyaj, who may explore the applications part and the interviewing part, but more on an academic side, as he had to apply for his bar. On to you, Priyaj.
Thank you, Jeremy. And I must say, I completely agree with what you said. For my own experience, so when I was still studying at uni, I was applying for some jobs, and some I got rejection, some I was accepted. But the thing is that my CV during that time was just a simple one, and I had my sample for it. But then when I finished my LLB degrees, when I was applying for my legal internship, I applied for like maybe 10 or 11 chambers, legal firm, but none of them either requested me for an interview or even emailed me back. And then I reach out to them in person and ask them like, what are the kind of CVs that those legal companies or those corporate companies are looking forward to? And like you said, they don't want more creative in it, but they want to be more informative towards your CV, like to explain why this company should choose you and take you, and what can you bring in the company. Because like Aliyah just said, you're a new graduate. It's true that those companies would like to get new people to come in, but also what is more important for them is to see what benefit you can bring to the company. This is one side of it. And like after I reached out to them, I did my CV completely different, and I applied to some legal firms, and this is when I started to get my interviews in. And then when I got my interviews, I chose which one I would like to prefer to do my internship in. So the CV is just like how you will reflect yourself, what you can bring to the company. If you do your CV properly and according to which sector you're working on or you want to work in, there will be a high chance that you will get called back. But that also you will need to put your CV properly. Like in the corporate sector, they will be wanting more information from you. Like in a design or things, they would your CV to be more creative. What can you bring? Because like the CV is the first thing that they will see of you before they call you. And then regarding my application for the bar, so I had to send in my CV, which was a good thing because I already reached out to some legal firm and already got my sample in. So I already knew like what the bar requirement were for the CV. So I just sent the same CV in. And at the end of the day, I got some reply from them, and it was good because whatever I put in the CV, this is what they actually wanted in. Because some of the universities told me that some people will just send a simple CV, no cover, no nothing, no background, just what they've achieved and what they've done. But the universities are not looking for that. They are looking for what you can bring also to the university and what you can bring to the company. When you're doing your CV, think carefully about where you want to work in and what section, what sector you're going to. And then you will be able to do it properly. Sajni, I will move on to you.
Thank you, Priyaj. So now to all the participants, after hearing from all the panelists, if you have any questions, then we would be glad to answer. So you can start sending in your questions if you have any.
I will probably start off. Interviews. Can you give us some idea of how do you prepare for an interview, either for an interview for a job or for something like preparing for an interview for the bar? It would be interesting maybe for some of our participants to know if there's any techniques that they could possibly pick up on and use while they're interviewing.
I think I can answer that, and then I'll pass on to Priyaj afterwards. So interviews, unless Alaya wants to go, but I'll ask I'll speak first. For interviews, in my opinion, as I've done quite a few of them, what we do look for, and what I personally felt like what went the best when it comes to interviews, to treat the interview like a conversation. So don't be scared to ask questions. Don't be scared to share your opinions. Having it like an open conversation would always help things go smoothly. It will help you relax. It will make also your interviewer feel at ease, because then it wouldn't feel like a question answer sort of interview, but more of a conversation, more of getting to know each other. So the interviewer can then understand you a bit more and learn more about you on a personal level as well, rather than staying at the surface and just answering a question. That's what I feel like helped me the most, and what helps others the most when I am doing the interviews. Other than that, I feel like it's just know who you are, know what you're good at, and know, and it's self-awareness. Self-awareness is a very key part of interviews. You need to know yourself, because you need to be ready for any type of questions. But that's a personal opinion of mine, because obviously how you prepare for an interview depends on individuals. But for me personally, preparing for interviews does not always help. What I always do is I just reflect on myself, and I just reflect on my past experiences, and I go through my CV a bit before the interview, just so I know what I did, and I know how I feel about these experiences. So then I start reflecting on what are the positives, what are the negatives, what I did but were good, and what I did but could be better. What are my goals and what are my opinions as well. And this has always helped me to prepare for an interview, because it always turns out that these questions come to me afterwards. But I'll leave it to Priyaj then to talk about the LLB part and the bar part. On to you, Priyaj.
Thank you, Jeremy. So for me, like I did both. So interview for job and interview for the bar. First, I would talk for the job thing when I was applying for them. What I would do before my interview is like I would prepare myself. I would look for the job requirement and the company itself, what they are looking for. I will look at my CV and look what I've done and what I haven't done. And I know they are gonna ask me what are my weaknesses and strong point. I would like focus myself and know what I should say and what I should not say. But the thing is that you should not lie also, you should be truth. So like if like, let's say something A is your weakness, don't lie about it. Just say it, because this is truthfulness. And many companies will want that someone which is truthful and someone which is confident and not lying about it. Also, every time I will look at my CV just to refresh my mind so that I don't get off track. This is for the job. Now for the bar thing, many students will think that when you're doing the interview for the bar, the universities or the coordinator will ask you more about law, or like, let's say if a person has committed a crime, what should be done. But it's not actually that. What they are looking for you is your logic, your thinking. Like, what can you do to avoid this, or what can be done for this situation? What are the possibilities? What are other different options that can be taken, can be done towards this situation? I'm talking to everyone who's applying for the bar or going for a bar interview soon. Don't like read the law, don't memorize the law, because this is not what they want from you. If you want to read or memorize it, I'm pretty sure everybody does it. But what they want from you is your logic. They want to know what your thinking is. So like, if you get a situation, if you're in a problem, how will you deal with it? What are you thinking towards it? So you will have to show them that you can operate in stress, and you can manage, like when there's pressure on you, you always have like a positive thinking about it, like looking a solution towards a problem. Alia, I give it to you if you have anything to say about the interview.
Thank you, Priyaj. I would just like to add on to what Priyaj said. So basically, before going, you should just know the company really well. How you dress and how you present yourself, that also matters in the interview. Your CV is just a version of yourself. When you present yourself in the interview, that's the visual version that the person is going to have. You must have heard the word that the first impressions do matter. So yes, they do. So when you go in an interview, just be yourself. You should tell your weakness openly, because you're at the start of your journey. No one's perfect, so you can ask them how they're going to add value to yourself and how you can add value to the firm. So it's going to be a two-way round. the questions you ask, and how knowledge you have, and how much you want to learn. All these things really matter when you go for an interview. Another thing that I would really like to focus on is to be punctual. Companies really take into consideration that what time the candidate comes. So it's better that you reach the interview place 15 minutes earlier so that you have a good impression, and then you reach there on time. Because time, as you have heard, is money. And people, when they are taking interviews, so they have their own busy meeting schedules. So the timing that you get late will disrupt their schedules as well. So just be careful for the time, your dress code, what you know of the knowledge. And if more questions you ask, the better you're going to get the knowledge. And also ask what they expect them from you, your task, what you're going to do. So all these little things are one of the things that that impresses the interviewer, and will also give you a clear version of what you want to do in your future and what you're going to get from that job. Thank you. Over to you, Dominica.
We've got a few questions that have come through. Aurel has asked, did you guys gain in confidence after your LLB? The LLB, Priyaj can cover that, but maybe Sohini can also talk about what's the confidence level after she finished her degree. And yeah, so over to you, Priyaj, for this question.
Thank you, Dominica. So to oral, right? So yes, it did give me a lot of confidence, because at first I was, I would say, afraid of like public speaking and speaking in front of a lot of people. But when I was doing the LLB, we had a thing called mooting. Mooting is like how you will go to court and fight your case and preserve your client's interest. And to do that, at first it's true, you won't have the confidence, but the more you do it, the more your confidence builds up. And the good thing about LLB is that Middlesex provide a lot of mooting. So through year 1, year 2, and year 3, you will have exam on mooting, and also there will be mooting competition. So this will help you, and I will really encourage everyone who's doing the LLB course to go for it. And just bear in mind, there's no wrong or right answer, and nobody is perfect. If you do a mistake, this is fine. This is completely fine. You just don't have to discourage yourself. Like, you've done something wrong, or you said something wrong, just move on, correct yourself, take it as a good thing. Don't discourage yourself. Never see the glass half empty, see it always as half full. Like what you may have done an error, just correct it in the right way. It's true, LLB has really helped me in my confidence and boost me up, especially when it comes like to talking to people, talking in front of a lot of people, even my studies and writing, because you will have to read a lot and you will have assignments to do, which are really lengthy sometimes, and you have to do a lot of research for it. So even doing the research and knowing like which perfect point of information I should extract and write it in my own word to explain what the situation is. Yes, in brief, LLB has really helped me in confidence.
Thank you, Priyaj. Dominica, I'm not sure which question you wanted me to address. Maybe you can...
As a follow-up, maybe to Priyaj, about what's the confidence level after finishing a degree, in your opinion, just to kind of get a background other than an LLB from somebody doing business management. How did you feel after you finished that degree?
To be honest with you, I felt quite confident. Obviously, like I said in the beginning, that when you've just finished, you have this sense of achievement that I have a great degree on hand with me. There is nothing I cannot achieve with it in terms of how you perceived your career to be. So obviously, the confidence was there quite a lot, I would say, but I did get humbled when I started applying for jobs. And also, confidence is very subjective to what you're trying to achieve. And when you've just graduated, you have all these big expectations, which sometimes are outrageous and crazy. For if I think back all the expectations I had when I graduated, right now I would tell myself that I was crazy, because you kind of have to level down and think logically of exactly what type of economy, industry you want to get into, because those are the type of things that come after graduating, after you've actually been thrown into the job world. And one of the things that I actually want to advise everyone is that, once you apply for a job and you get it, there are protocols each company, each industry has. And one of the things that I have learned since I have worked with 2 different companies so far is that you always have to ask what your roadmap is in that company. So that means when your quarterly evaluations is coming up, or your probation is about to end and they want to make it into a full-time contract, obviously the seniors or the HR is going to come and, they'll ask you that, where do you think we as a company can improve? And they will also tell you where they think you could do better or what they would expect from you. And one of the main core questions that I think as an employee or as an intern that you should have is that, where do you see my roadmap going, and how long do you want me to achieve it? And in achieving it, what would you like me to do? Who can I ask for assistance, and how can I be of more help to anyone else so that I'm able to reach a position higher by the time my next evaluation comes up? And I think that's a very big key informative advice, because whatever that conversation will go like, you have to take it as positive criticism. And I think if that's the mindset that you go with, then you definitely will have a confidence boost, because at least then you will know what you have to work towards. So yes, Dominica, over to you for any other questions that have come in.
We do. We have a question from Lakshana, who is asking about further studies, part-time masters or crash courses while you wait for a job. I think maybe, again, Sohini, you could address this, and so can Alaya, because both of you have pursued further studies. So over to you guys.
Okay, let me just go first, and then I can pass it over to Alaya. So thank you, Lakshana, for asking that question, because I think that's a very important thing to also tackle. From my personal experience, I started working in October 2019, and I wasn't really sure of doing a postgraduate or crash course or anything like that, because I did not know towards what I wanted to specialize, and I didn't want to start something before working. So what I took, what advice I kind of gave myself and what I thought was right for my path was that if I started working and I worked for a couple of months, at least I would know what type of thing I want to specialize in. Because of the nature of the job that I would have, I would be able to explore not only my role, but also kind of view what other people and other colleagues are achieving and doing. And that kind of really helped me get into the mindset of what I wanted to specialize. And then beginning of 2020, I decided I wanted to start CIMA, which is Chartered Institution of Management Accounting. And I did a lot of research, and I'm in Kenya, and Kenya ACCA is much more popular than CIMA is. So it was a bit difficult to find anyone to talk to or to get recommendations, like the way you're asking us that, do you guys recommend? I didn't know how to approach that, and I was really nervous on trying to start that journey of CIMA. And then I just kind of eyeballed it. I don't know how I got the confidence, and I just went on my LinkedIn profile. I completely revamped it, and I filtered my search, and I typed in CIMA, and I typed in the country, Kenya, and the city, and I just made connections with any person that had CIMA on their profile under that filtered list. And when I added them, I also messaged them at the same time, which was nerve-wracking because I didn't know if I would get any replies. And I was really surprised, and I would advise everyone to go out there and ask for help, ask for assistance and advice. Don't be scared, because people out there are willing to help. You will get help from anyone that you approach. It's only going to be a few people that might not want to get bothered by it, but for me, it helped me so much. A lot of the people that were doing CIMA replied back me the way forward, what is the best way I can start my application process, what books I would need, where they recommend I can get them from, and how the online platform works, how the exams are. So in a nutshell, for your question of recommending on doing a master's or crash courses, I think yes, because it adds value to whatever you're doing. And at the end of the day, whichever company you apply for, whether it is beginning of your career or 10 years down the line, as much as experience matters, you can only become an expertise and get that type of experience with the amount of knowledge that you've learned. So I would definitely recommend exploring ideas and going for master's, postgraduate, or any type of course that you think would enhance your skills and make you feel more confident. And I think Alea can take over and explain her side as well.
Thank you, Sohini. Just to add on what she said, I completely recommend having a postgraduate or a master's or a professional degree. From my side of the story, I started my ACCA along doing my undergraduate at Middlesex because I had a time frame that I have to complete my ACCA within the certain 3 years. So after my degree, I was continuing my ACCA, but then the papers became gradual because I was working alone. So I think having a professional degree along with the academic degree in this competitive world is really important. As Sohini said, experience does matter, but in order to get promotions, in order to have more skills, studying something side while you're working, it adds value. It helps you to grow as a person, and it also helps you to give a clear direction of what you want to do further in life. And also, I would like to add, like, instead, more apart from postgraduate, you can also do courses like Excel courses, which also helps in you to in order to grow. Moreover, I would say that LinkedIn is a very good platform for you to market yourself. And if you want something in life, you have to go after it. So you have to go make connections, go socialize and network yourself in order to get what you want. So I think having more degrees, more masters, everything is possible. It's just the mindset that you're supposed to have, the motivation you're supposed to have, and the journey that you need to believe in yourself. Thank you. Over to you, Dominica.
We have another question from Toshni about how do you stay on target, motivated when facing rejections or when things don't go your way? I think Jeremy could give us a little bit more information and insight on this question.
Thanks for the question. Hold on, I'll turn my camera on. Right, so rejection. I think it's a mindset to begin with. It depends how you take it as well. It's you need to be able to understand what the rejection means to begin with. Rejection does not mean that you are a failure or that you're wrong. It's that someone else with a better skill set or better experience has gotten the job. And you should always see it as an opportunity to learn from a rejection. So I always recommend to always ask feedback to HR or to the recruitment team as to why were you not selected? What could have been done better if you did go for interviews? And if you did not, what exactly were they looking for that I do not have? Generally, what happens is that they tend to give rejection without any feedback. My take on it is always try and chase these people and also feedback, because then you can grow from it and learn from it. Now, how to stay positive is, as I said, a mindset. So it's always demotivating and it's always it does crush your ego a lot when you get rejected, because let's say you've applied for a job and you think that, 100% I'll get it because I literally meet every single point of the requirement. So why am I not going to get it? But the important part is to bounce back from it. It's to be able to see it as an opportunity to that, okay, this company did not want to recruit me, but one company out there will. That's for sure. No matter how long it takes, whether it's a month or two, especially, for most of us, I don't want to generalize neither, but for a lot of us, we don't have much responsibilities yet when it comes to having a family to feed or having a household to cover for. Again, I am not talking for everyone here, but this is as a young adult or as a fresh graduate, most people still are with their parents, or if you're from another country, your parents are still in a way supporting you. It's okay to wait a month or two or even 3 months or 4 months before the opportunity arises. I think, as Priyash said as well before, see it as not as a glass half empty, but as a glass half full. See it as what more can you bring to your CV to make yourself more competitive in the future. So yeah, I hope I've answered your question. Pass it back to you, Dominica.
Great. We have Lucas asking on the lines of rejection again, but if I understand correct, Lucas, you are asking, was the pandemic a reason cited for you not getting your jobs, or why people are not hiring? Maybe Sohini, you can shed some light on this.
Yeah, sure. So for me, I would say I had a very different experience with jobs during the pandemic, but I also do understand that when I did think about transitioning from my previous job into another one, before I had my application for the current company I work in, it was very difficult. And I would definitely 100% say that the pandemic did contribute to the fact that there weren't any job openings. And also, if you think about it, when you're a new recruit, you have to be trained, and some aspects of different industries, especially in Kenya, like our industry is very industrial, agricultural. Corporate sector is there, but easily readily available jobs are not in that sector. um, it would have to be hands-on training, and because of safety protocols and budget cuts and a lot of their own staff being let off or being sent off on unpaid leave, did contribute to a big factor that they weren't hiring. And also, if they did even want to hire, because this, I'm saying this from an example because of a response I received, was that we would love to hire you, but number one, we don't have the manpower to train you. Secondly, if we did have the manpower, online training is not something that is easy. There's always difficulties, like Jeremy said, his laptop crashed or kept on overheating and stuff. And there's just a lot of other aspects that go into it. But on a positive note, when I did get into the company that I am in right now, I am still currently working from home. I still haven't met any of my colleagues, which is a very crazy thing, because that's not a new normal. And what I would say is that I think now using the pandemic as a reason of maybe not wanting to work or not being motivated should not be the case, because now things are opening up. And even if they are not, a lot of companies over the past year and a half have learned and have transitioned from paper services to a lot of online based services that they provide their clients with. And so it will also help in the sense of, if you are planning to do a postgraduate, obviously it's going to be online, plus also your job will be online. It gives you a lot of flexibility as well in terms of timings and how you want to kind of conduct yourself during the day. I don't know if I've answered your question fully, but I hope I have. And if I haven't, please feel free to ask me again and I'll try and answer it back. I'm glad I did. Thank you, Lucas, for your question.
Great. We have two questions from Charek, really. One very long one. As a student, what went through your mind when you had finished your degree, considering so many people find it rather intimidating to go look for jobs? How was the transition from being a student to being in the working world been? Maybe we can get Alaya to answer this question.
Sure. It's a very interesting question. Like, as soon as you finish your degree, everybody's on a race, going in the job market, trying to find that perfect job. And there's so many things coming in your head, like what to do next, or like where my friends are going, where do I see myself? So I think the first thing is like to sit back and to reflect on yourself. Where do you want to go? And you should take your time and you should be patient with the journey, because the journey will make you reach there, but you need to just look for the right match and look where you want to go. So to be intimidated by people, I think it's just going to mess around with you. You should know yourself as an individual. Your journey of life is with yourself. So once you have that focus with yourself, so I think the focus is very important in order for you to reach there. And coming in the second part, like how was the transition? I mean, it was for me when I started in the bank, and coming from a student to a proper working environment, everybody sitting so professionally, punctual, things in a systematic manner was something I was amazed. I was trying to figure out the way things were working, but then you get used to the environment. You grow as a person. You learn a lot. You will know the points, and they will groom you, and they will make you grow along with you. So I think the journey, you just need to be a bit patient with yourself and give yourself time. It's okay to do mistakes. When I joined working in the bank, I did not know how to print and punch properly. Like, it needs to be formatted with a certain angle. Everything needs to be done in a certain exact manner. The requirements were very organized. So you're going to learn all of that, and it is a big transaction, but I think it is lovely. And it's the mindset that how you go with. You go with a positive mindset. You go with a mindset, and you believe in yourself. You believe that you're going to get what you want to do. So it will definitely work out. I hope I answered your question. And I'll just add on that the working world is a very completely different world from the university world. It's a practical world, and you have ups and downs, you have failures, but it's how you handle things in life, and it's the way that you look at things. If, for example, if I give you a thing, and if there's water, like, you must have heard the famous example, there's water in both glasses. Like, how do you see it? Half empty or half full? So I mean, if you just see it half full, that means you know yourself, and you know you're going to reach the journey. And you should, when you see people elder than you and experienced than you should take their comments positively. You should learn, and you should ask questions. So slowly and gradually you're going to reach that place. It has been 2 years after I've graduated, and working in different cultures, different people. You learn a lot, and you will reach your goal. I hope I answered your question, and if there's something more, you can surely ask. Over to you, Dominica.
I think we're going to take our last two questions. They are related to working from home and remote working. So Kinjal and Toshni both have asked these questions. Kinjal has started off with about tips regarding working from home, as these jobs are becoming more suitable for some, while Toshni has elaborated a little bit about finding a work-life balance, given that you are spending a lot more time working at home, but also living at home. So if I could possibly get two different perspectives from Jeremy and Priyaj, who's done the studies, and Jeremy, who's done the working. Yeah, would be great. Over to you, guys.
Okay, I guess I'm going first. All right. I've had experience in both, actually. So when I started working, things were going back to normal. So I had my first few weeks working in the office. Following that, we had a second lockdown, and we all had to move to working from home again. Personally, for me, I see that working from home is a bit smoother on my end, because but that's for a very personal reason. And I hear that it's not the case for a lot of people, because they tend to work more from working from home. But personally, for me, it's easier for me to be able to track time, because I am not in an environment where everyone else keeps working after their working hours, which does happen in my office quite a lot. I am able to, close my laptop whenever the time to stop arrives. But then at the same time, working from home comes with so many challenges, in the sense that personally for me, I am stuck in my room all day. So when I wake up, my desk is in my room. So I go from my bed to my desk for work. It's not the most practical. So I believe that, staying healthy takes a big hit, especially when you're forced being stuck at home and having to work from home. And it's also impacts on the communication with your colleagues. I think I've experienced that having to talk to your colleagues is way more lengthy, and does take a lot more effort to be able to get there than if everything was face to face and you were able to just simply speak up and have a chat with your colleagues. It does feel quite lonely as well, which I believe Sohini is experiencing at the moment. As she mentioned, she was saying that she has not met her colleagues yet, and being in HR, on my end, it is quite, I wouldn't say worrying, but it is quite unfortunate of this situation, because especially from an HR standpoint, we do our best that new joiners meet their team at least face to face and get to know everyone, because it does help easing into the work and getting to know the habits and the little cultural aspects of how the office functions. I don't know if I've answered both questions. So I think I've answered Toshni's question, but moving on to Kinjal's question about any tips working from home. If ever you feel like it's hard for you to disconnect from your work, I think it's best if you set yourself a timer, especially since you're home, and to be able to get off of your laptop. I would recommend not working in your room, which is quite funny because that's what I do. But find somewhere else in your house or in the apartment that you're staying at, other than your room. I think it changes the environment a bit. If there's a change in your environment while you're working, so you don't feel like you're stuck at work 24/7, since that's where you're living in. I'll pass on to Priyaj if he'd like to, because I believe he also had some experiences with remote working or remote studies.
Thank you, Jeremy. Yeah, in fact, for me, it was mostly studying from home. But at first, it was a bit difficult for me because when we came here and we started doing the bar, so we were going to actual physical classes, and then the pandemic here, the second wave, like hit really hard, and we had to move everything online. The first, I would say, 1 and 2 weeks were a bit tough because like we were restrained in our room and just studying in our room. Like my desk is here, my bed is over there. I would just be on my desk working and then going to sleep, waking up in the morning, doing the same routine. But then at the end of the day, I came to realize that let's not take it as a bad side, but take it as a good side also, because like, for example, you're not going out, so you're not wasting your time. Instead of doing that, you're being here and you're concentrating on your work, you're focusing on your work. And like I said earlier, you're in your comfy zone. Your bed is right here. If you don't want to work on the desk, you can just pop on the bed and work, but try not to fall asleep, which is really hot. And you will have your snacks with you, your drinks with you. The kitchen is right here. The good thing is that because we had those few classes at the beginning, we were able to make friends, get in touch and in contact with them. So yes, getting in contact with them, like regarding works and like how to deal with this solution and exchanging information was a bit hard because like, you know, it's not face to face, but like via calls or email, but then you get used to it. And then you find it's really helpful because like while you're waiting for the other person, like to confirm or to help you with something, you are spending more time with the problem yourself. So at the end of the day, once a person is like, giving you the solution, you yourself, you might have already find it. And like this help you to develop even more, like in confidence and logic and thinking, especially your critical thinking, because like you're confined in your room, so you'll be pressured, no one will help you. And then you will have to work on yourself. How are you going to find a solution for that? And this really helped me. And also what Jeremy said, you don't only need to stay in your room. Like for me, I am living in a flat. We are 6 friends here. And all 6 of us had to do online classes. So when we get bored in our room, we just go in the living room. We all sit over there, have a drink, eat, and we will talk, we will discuss. At the same time, we will attend classes. We will share our information, even though it is different courses that we were doing, but all of us would put our information in it and suggesting, yeah, this can be done or this can be done. And then we will reflect on it. If this can work, then yeah, we give it a try. Also, there's one thing, even though you're working from home and you're not working or studying from home, so you're not going to go out, doesn't mean that the whole day or night you need to stay in front of your PC or laptop or your files or your document and just work it. No, set a timer. Like, you know, from this time to this time you need to work, you work. And then when you're done with it, close it, switch it off, go watch a movie or go for a walk or do something that will relax you. Do something that's not gonna just only stuck you in front of your work. Because like having some personal time also is really important. And yeah, so for me at first it was a bit difficult, but then I got used to it and it really helped me become more confident and more mentally strong because you're more by yourself now. You're not going out meeting people, but also it helped me like to focus more time on my work than going out and wasting that time. So yes, I would say it is a good thing, but also like I said, do keep a timer, not only work 24 hours a day. Set yourself a timer, you know, from this time to this time you will work, and then the rest of the relax. Don't just stay in front of your work. I hope I've answered your question, Kindra. And I leave it back to you, Dominica.
Great, guys. This event is now coming to an end. If you guys have any further questions, feel free to address them to alumni@mdx.ac.mu. You can address them to a panelist. I will definitely get them answered on our Maiden MDX blog. Yes, and also I'd like to also say thank you to Sajni for stepping up and representing this year's finalists. Thank you very much, Sajni. Much appreciated. I hope you all took some ideas from this event. Feel free to email us if you have any ideas or you would like to get a topic going. I'm sure we could get some panelists for you and get you to join online. So yes, thank you very much, Sohini, Alaya, Jeremy, Priyaj, and have a good evening, everybody, and speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank
Bye,
you all
everyone.
for attending.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
Thank
you.
you.